All right, so this series has been back and forth. We have a lot going on right now in the moment as you and I are talking.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, let me talk about the first three games and then I'll have you pull up the current score if you don't mind.
Yeah.
These teams are playing as we speak. And right as we started recording with you guys, Kyrie Irving had just sprained his ankle. And I think we do have confirmation that it is an ankle sprain.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first few games. Game one, this whole series, no James Harden still. James Harden is still recovering from his hamstring issues. Hopefully he gets better soon so we can finally see this team at full strength. One of my biggest complaints about this team, and a lot of it is no fault of their own. It's been injury stuff too. But we've only seen this trio of players together, I think, a dozen times over the course of the whole year, including playoffs.
Yeah.
Which I think is just really frustrating as an NBA fan. Like, I want to see what this team can do. But anyway, a lot of that is not those guys' faults. There's been injury issues. It seems like they have had a contagious hamstring issue.
Agreed.
I mean, Harden had that. I think Durant had the hamstring issue for a little while as well. Anyway, moving on to the games. Brooklyn wins 115-107 in game one. Game two, total blowout, 125-86. Pretty disheartening to see. Even Bill Simmons, you and I were talking about this earlier, he picked the Bucks to win this series. And it had looked insurmountable. You have a very ugly game three where Milwaukee pulls out this like 80s style basketball game, 86-83. Mm-hmm. Joe Harris goes, I think, like 1 for 11 from the 3-point line. Very uncharacteristic, inaccurate shooting night for both of these teams, really, but especially the Nets, who usually are just knocking it down like game two. And then in progress, I think the Bucks are still up unless the Nets have come back. Do you have the score for game four right now?
74-59 Milwaukee. About 3:06 left in the third quarter.
And so let's assume the Bucks hang on here and we have a 2-2 series. Can Kevin Durant carry this team to win for the Nets? I think you had the Nets in 6. I had the Nets in 7. I was starting to believe the Bucks hype a little bit more, but we still both picked the Nets. How do you see this playing out?
I think with Durant by himself from a matchup, I don't think so. I just think the way the Bucks are with Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton stepping up, I think it's in the Bucks' best interest here. And also, I feel them tying up the series, I would say each game that Kyrie and James Harden are out, those are must wins because not only for just the series, but also legacy too. Mm-hmm. The door is open, and I think it makes for a compelling series, despite Kyrie getting hurt. That sucks. I mean, you don't want to ever see players get injured.
For sure.
And I think it makes it more competitive, too, because, we're talking off air, and it's kind of like, is it really fun just to watch, like, the Nets just, like, destroy all these teams, even with James Harden hurt?
Yeah.
So now I think it makes it a lot more competitive from a story standpoint. I'm just wondering, from a league standpoint, I mean, if you're Adam Silver, this is probably bad news right now. Do you really want Milwaukee deep in the playoffs from a ratings draw perspective? No. And look at the Clippers. Yeah, they're LA market, but, the Lakers, they rule that. And Kawhi and Paul George, I don't consider them massive casual crossover stars, in my opinion, in the league. So I think from a league perspective, you're rooting for Brooklyn, even though I don't know how to really quantify their popularity around the league.
But that's a major market.
It is for sure. But at the same time, it's funny because I was watching a video of like the Knicks and just them comparing like the Knicks to Brooklyn. It's just like, it's that team there. It's the Knicks. Mm-hmm. It just always will be. Like the Nets will be from New Jersey, for even though they're in Brooklyn,
right,
all the time. So that ownership of that team. It belongs to like a different state, even though they're the Brooklyn Nets. So overall, I think it makes the series more compelling. And I do like Milwaukee if Durant is the single representative. But, it's a big if, especially for Kyrie Irving and James Harden. In a playoff scenario, that's different. They'll want to be up at the court. Or will they? I mean, look at Kevin Durant. I mean, with the Achilles. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, if you're all three of those guys you have a talk, do you run it back next year, or you just try to go for it? It'll be interesting to see what choice they make. So
yeah, for sure. I think to your point about ratings, I think what you have with the Nets that you have with no other team. I mean, not only is that market pretty tremendous, but if you are hearing things about the Suns and how dominant they've been, like potentially sweeping the MVP, I think there's the potential they get some hate watching for the Nets.
Yeah.
Like, let's watch this super team fail in the finals. Much like you got people hate watching the Heat, even though they're playing the Mavericks, which is not, I mean, Texas is big, but Dallas specifically, not a huge market. I mean, not one of the top ones for the NBA.
The Heat did.
For sure.
Tons of hate.
Oh, for sure.
The
By
introduction,
ESPN, the Heat Index.
For sure. Yeah, everything. And I think with Brooklyn, it's kind of like, these superstars are together.
It's a little different.
Yeah, I don't get like that, just massive, just like, despite all the drama.
Yeah, if they were like the first team coming together this way, or even if this was like Durant jumping to the Warriors and like the backlash there was for that, there would be more for sure. I still think there is the potential for the casual fans to watch more, even if they're not from that New York, New Jersey area. And to your point about this series too, I guess another thing I'll add is, we don't know specifically what's going on with Harden's hamstring.
That is bizarre too.
Harden is a tank. This is really one of the first seasons where he's missed with injury time. So it wouldn't shock me at all. Kyrie, you're out. I've been rehabbing this for a little while. If I get the clear from the doctors, I'm going to jump into game 5.
Yeah.
And in that case, if you have Durant and Harden on the floor, then I still got to pick the Nets to win. So even if you just have 2 out of the 3, it seems like, I thought initially over the course of the series, I did pick the Nets, but I thought, man, this might be super close if you only have 2 out of the 3 of these stars. They've proven with how well they mesh with each other. It's almost like a dream team out on the floor together. And then also credit to Blake Griffin too. He's really stepped up and played some key minutes, played some awesome defense, even against Giannis. So I think, this Nets team is still to this point the title favorite, but we have to see, obviously, what's going on with Kyrie. And we're only going to know that once reports come out about what's actually going on with his ankle. They just showed James Harden in his street clothes there on the TV. We've got that playing in the back. Any other thoughts about this series?
Just one other. It seems from some of the podcasts and some of their reactions to Steve Nash and Kevin Durant to James Harden's injury seems more than just what's going on with him. Seems like it's more serious. That's something to kind of keep our eyes out for.